we are going to learn inequalities. In the previous video, I showed you how to solve inequalities. Now in this video, I'm going to show you how to shade inequalities. That is, regions being represented by different inequalities. So the procedure we're going to use here, you can use it with any type of inequality that you are going to have. Okay, whatever the expression may be, you can use it. So how do we represent this inequality we have on our x or y plane, right? So here we have our x or y plane, we have our y-axis and our x-axis. So to plot this inequality on our x or y plane, it means we need to have the x and the y coordinates, right? Right. So let's do so. Now to do so, you create something like this box here, right? Now this box, it will have the x values and the y values. So we are going to assume and say if x is 0, okay, in the box, in this inequality that you have, that is y is less than or equal to x minus 2. So you need to solve this equation for assumed value of x, and when solving you can use equal sign, right? So you can solve this equation. So if y, we want to find y if x is assumed to be 0. So if x is assumed to be 0, then y is going to be, so you substitute where you have x by 0, and this is going to give you y is equal to -2, right? So this means you have a point when x is 0, you assume x to be 0, the value of y is going to be -2, right? So we have one coordinate, right? So this is -2. Good. Now next, so this is our first working that we have shown. So let's show also for the second one, that is for the second column. So in this second column, what we have, now we are going to assume if y is 0, we are going to assume a value for y. So if y is 0, what is going to be x? So let's solve. So this time we are going to substitute, right? So we can use equal sign there, and we have x minus 2. Now we are going to assume the value of y this time to be 0. What will be the value of x if y is 0? So if the value of y is 0, we can see that the value of x is going to be nothing but +2, right? So you can insert 2 there that you have found. Good. So that means the point we have here is, so if x is 2, then y should be 0, right? So we have these two coordinates, right? So we have 0, -2. We can, maybe this can be our point A, and this can be our point B, okay, which is 2, 0. And so we can put this, we can plot this on our x or y plane, right? So right here we have okay, let me just change the color here so that we can see. So we have 0, -2 as our point A, right? Where x is 0, y is -2. Now where is that point? That point is right here. Okay, hope you are following. Now next we have 2, 0, where, so we have x2, y is 0. So that means it's right here. Okay, that's B, right? Okay, so that's +2. So we have the point right here on 2. Okay, now the other thing you need to do is just to draw a straight line, right? You draw a straight line to join your 2 points. Now remember, it's not a straight line that we want the region representing being represented by this inequality we have been given, right? Right. Now after you do this, remember we want the region. So to identify which region you need to shade, which one is the wanted and the unwanted region you need to test. Okay, you can pick on values on the bottom or on the upper side of the line that you have drawn. Okay, now what do I mean by saying that? What I mean is here we can pick on the points, let's say 2 comma -2. Okay, if we see this point is on the bottom part, right? Okay, so which means the statement that these 2 points are going to produce after we insert them in the inequality that we have, if it is in agreement with the sign that we have, then this is the wanted region. If not, then we shade otherwise. Okay, so let's test. That's 2 comma -2, right? So we have 2, that's x-axis, and in y we have -2. Okay, if you want, you can also test using maybe 2 comma 1. All right, you can test using 2 comma 1 as long as it is on the other side of the straight line that you have drawn. Okay, you can use 2 comma 1 to test. Okay, so this time let's use 2 comma -2. So we are testing using the bottom part. So we'll need to substitute in the inequality, and this time you don't need to use the equal sign, you just need to write your inequality, because you are going to substitute both the value of x and y. So y is -2, right, less than or equal to, now x is +2 minus 2, right? Now when you solve this, you are going to have -2 less than or equal to 0. Now here you need to ask yourself, is -2 less than or equal to 0? One statement is true here, right? So one of the statement, if it's satisfied, then you shade that region. So let's start. Is -2 less than 0? Yes, right? Now is -2 equal to 0? No, it's not, but it is less than 0. What does that mean? So this statement we have, it shows that the points that we have picked, right, at the bottom part, the lower part of the straight line that we drew, is in agreement with the inequality. Okay, for every point that we choose at the bottom part, this inequality will be satisfied. Now what does that mean? So it means the inequality that we have is describing the lower region. So to shade the unwanted region, if you want to shade the unwanted region, okay, just a moment, we can shade that. So starting from this line, and one thing I want you to take note of is the straight line that we drew. It is a thick line showing that our inequality has less or equal. Okay, if it doesn't have that equal, you don't shade it, you draw a broken line, okay, or a dotted line. So this is the region. So the inequality representing this shaded region, the lower part is y, right? That's less than or equal to x minus 2, right? So if you want we want to shade the unwanted region, since the points we had picked, that is 2 comma -2, the statement that the inequality that we've been given produced was in line, then the unwanted region will be the opposite. Okay, so what we have shaded is the wanted region. Now if you want to shade the unwanted region, then you shade otherwise of the statement that your inequality has produced. Alright, so thank you so much. Now the next thing I want us to do is to solve the second question. Now I want you to pay attention. In the second question, this time, we have the inequality y greater than -2x minus 2. So we just use the same procedure. So we draw a box, right? So this box we draw, we are going to have assumed values of x and y, right? So we have assumed values of x and y, the same procedure, and you can have your x and your y coordinate. So we have x, we have assumed values of x and assumed values of y. So suppose x is 0, what are we going to have? Again, we will need to solve. So we have y, you can use equal sign to solve. You can substitute that greater than we have by equal sign so that we can solve. So we are saying if x is 0, what will be our y, right? So we're going to have -2, 0 there, minus 1. So you're going to have your y is -1, right? Good. So we have -1. Now let's assume this term, if the value of y is 0, what will be the value of x? Okay, so this will be our second calculation. So this time we want to assume, again, we have the same equation, remember, that's y is equal to -2x, right, minus 1. Now what we want to substitute is y. We want to substitute y by 0. So we assume y to be 0. What will be the value of x, right? Now you are going to have this, which means you are going to have -2x, right? Okay, now this means you have to divide both sides by -2, right? So you can leave your answer in points so that you can plot it nicely there. So if we leave our answer in points, this will be -0.5, right? Good. So for every value of x, so I'll just write it outside here because it won't fit there, we are going to have -0.5. Okay, for if the value of y is 0, then our x will be -0.5. So look at the coordinates we have found. We have 0, -1, right? Good. And then the other one we have, that's -0.5 as the value of x when y is 0. So we can plot this on our x or y plane. We have 0, -1, so 0 is in x, y is -1, so our point will be right here. Okay, and then we have -0.5, 0, that means our x is -0.5, so that's half of that, so we can assume it to be there. Now what we want to do is just to connect this line, these two dots that we have, these two positions or points. So that is the line. Now the question is, how do we know where to solve, right? So how do we know where to solve? So to know where to solve, again, we'll need to test. Okay, we need to test. So we can test. Now how do we test? Remember, we need to choose values. So this time, why don't we choose, let's say, we can pick maybe 1,1, right? We can choose 1,1. Remember, it is on the upper part of the line. So we can test using +1,1 as our testing point. So we can say testing. Okay, now test. So to test where we are shading, we can have our equation. So we are using the points. We have 1,1. So there's a part which we are going to shade. The region depends on the statement that we are going to get after substituting this testing point in the inequality that we have. So we have y is greater negative 2x, right? 2x minus 1. Now one more thing here, you look at the inequality we have is greater, right? It doesn't have or equal to, which means we want the values that will not start from the line, right? So the line will not be a thick line, but it will be a broken line or dotted line. Okay, very important. Okay, if you have a question, you can leave a question in your comment. I'll be able to attend to you. All right, so let's proceed. So that's the line, it will be dotted. Now if we substitute y is 1, right, greater than negative 2, we substitute our x by 1, then we have negative 1 there. This will give us y greater than, now we know that what we are getting here, this will be negative 3, right? Good. Now what does this mean? So this means so you need to analyze the statement. Okay, this says 1 is less than negative 3. Sorry, oh god, that's 1 greater than negative 3. Now is that true? You need to ask yourself, is it true? So we have a question mark there. Is it true that 1 is greater than negative 3? The answer is yes. 1 is greater than negative 3. Remember, positive numbers are always greater than negative numbers. Okay, so yes, it is. So what does it mean if it is? Then the wanted region, which is being represented, let me use that color, which is being represented by this inequality we have. Just a moment. That's a blue color. So the region being represented is this region, starting from the line. Okay, don't leave the spaces. Okay, when you are doing, do it nicely, starting from the broken line here. Okay, all right. Okay, so this is the region being represented by the inequality y greater than negative 2x minus 1. Again, if you want the unwanted region, right, so the opposite side, the unshaded one, is the unwanted region. Unwanted region. Okay, so if you are told to shade the unwanted region, you shade the opposite. So thank you so much for watching this video. I'll see you in the next video where we're going to solve more questions now. Thank you.